to Let's Talk Law, your go-to guide to the civil legal world. I'm your host, Michelle Wargo, and I'm here to help you understand the law. I'm not a lawyer, but I believe in legal access for all. Together, we'll make sense of the legal system and empower ourselves with the knowledge we need. Welcome to Let's Talk Law. This month's episode of Let's Talk Law focuses on community outreach and impact organizations. We'll be exploring how leadership, community involvement, and the law come together. Joining us in the Let's Talk Law studio is Vince Loran with Leadership Seminole.
I am a retired Air Force veteran. I give back to the community a lot, and I'm just honored to be here to just showcase what Leadership Seminole does and how veterans are involved.
I am a proud grad of Leadership Seminole, Class 30, the Fast and the Furious, yes. Well, I think it's benefiting everyone. Well, first of all, the individual gets a benefit going through Leadership Seminole by learning about all the intricacies of Seminole County. Number one. Number two, you get to have a Rolodex now of 54 other professionals in the community. So the networking, the relationship building is phenomenal.
Leadership Seminole has the opportunity to develop professionals to have a lifelong interest and investment in the county itself. It's two parts to it. But first of all, it's ran by 3 great leaders full-time with a robust board and an executive council. There's a 10-month program. That 10-month program allows 55 professionals to come through and learn about timely issues of Seminole County. They have a legacy project that they go through. Now, throughout these 10 months, these 55 individuals will go through sessions. And there's different sessions throughout. There's sessions on government, infrastructure, public safety, economic development, arts and culture, education, and it culminates with a law and justice session in May and has a graduation. Each class develops a niche to decide which nonprofit to give back to, and that's their legacy project. Great thing, we have 33 classes been through this, and we've raised over $1.6 million and over 20,000 volunteer hours. So the way it works is that each class divides up in 4 groups, and those individuals decide which nonprofit to give back to. They decide, and then all 4 of them pitch which nonprofit they want to represent the class. One is only selected.
Now that we have a solid understanding of what Leadership Seminole is, Vince shares his passion for giving back and the upcoming event, A Call to Service, which will be held on October 18th.
For 21 years, I drank the Kool-Aid. It's all about service before self. Was very much in tune to helping others, doing something bigger than myself. I took off that uniform and I was always thinking, man, what can I do to make a difference? Call to Service is one of those events that Leadership Seminole hosts. I'm the chair of that committee. And each year we bring 40 nonprofits in one location to showcase their volunteer opportunities to the public. Great thing about this event is an opportunity to learn about where you can volunteer, and it can be anywhere from children all the way up to seniors. You go throughout these tables expo style, and each representative is live and you can get their business cards, or we have a handy booklet that gives you opportunities to learn about their mission, contact information, and which age group is appropriate to volunteer at that event. This year we're so fascinated to have Kay Rollins. If you love soccer, she's the founder of Orlando Pride. If you didn't know, there's several Olympians, gold and silver medalists that are part of Orlando Pride. Who knows, there might be a special treat that day. So October 18th at 8:30 start time and until 10:30. The great thing, it's all free. We offer also free light beverages like coffee and water and light breakfast. So come out, support, call the service, learn where you can volunteer and make a difference in society.
When we return, we will travel to the WFTV studios for Law Talk with special guest Brandon Seiler. Stay tuned. You're watching Let's Talk Law. Welcome back to Let's Talk Law. I'm your host, Michelle Wargo. Recently on Law Talk, Community Legal Services CEO Jeff Harvey and WFTV anchor Q McCrae sat down with former NFL player Brandon Seiler to learn more about what he's doing to help fellow athletes and how that has evolved into supporting veterans as well.
Hello and welcome to WFTV's Law Talk, your guide to understanding the law and how it impacts our community.
We break down complicated legal topics for you as part of our vision to ensure legal access for all.
I'm Q McCrae alongside Jeff Harvey, who is the CEO of Community Legal Services. And together, we're here to bring you insights about the legal system and the services that support it.
We talk with influential change makers and explore their approach to these important issues.
So join us as we amplify the voices of those who are striving to make justice accessible for all. You're watching WFTV's Law Talk.
Turning complex legal jargon into everyday talk. That's WFTV's Law Talk, sponsored by Community Legal Services.
Well, this is a segment that Jeff and I are really excited about. We have a guest in our studio right now whose resume is maybe too long for one show. I mean, you've done just about everything, it seems like. Right here is Brandon Seiler.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. You know, like I told you, I did some research on you. So you're a Central Florida native, born in Daytona Beach, raised in Pine Hills, went to Evans High, then went to UF, had an awesome career your freshman year, was Freshman of the Year. Then you won the SEC title in 2006, won the national title in 2007, went on to the NFL for 7 years. Then you leave the NFL to become an entrepreneur. Not just an entrepreneur, but an author. You're starring in a Netflix documentary. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Well, thank you for joining us here today. I want you to talk about, why. Why are you giving back to the community? Why have you started all of these new businesses and to give back and help everyone?
I think I always just been one that wanted more, right? I knew where I came from, and I knew I wanted different for me and my family when I got older. My mom busted her butt to try to give me everything and make me feel as good about how I grew up, and I loved every part of it because it built me to who I am today. But I wanted something different for my family. I wanted something different for me, and I wanted to experience the finer things in life and make a difference. So I think every day is just about that.
There you go. And one of the businesses that you started is called Legacy Pro Sports. Talk about that.
So Legacy Pro Sports, it's crazy how it came about, right? I was, when I got done playing in the NFL, my first job, I worked for CMEX, right? Where I was a manager and we built apartment complexes. I had total autonomy. I mean, I felt great. I felt like I was one of the guys that got out of the league and did great. Loved my time there, and it gave me that corporate structure and make me understand about that. But I had about 6 of my guys that were really struggling with this disability thing, and they came to me like, hey, you the smart guy. Here, can you help us out with this? And I said, let me try to figure it out. And the more and more that I dug into it, the more and more I got upset and frustrated because it was, first off, nobody had the knowledge. Nobody knew about these disabilities, that they even exist. And then second of all, once you knew that they existed, it was just so hard to get to the finish line where actually these disabilities were serving the people that they needed to. So I helped those 6 guys out and got it done. But in the process, I found a statistic that only 5% of all eligible NFL players were receiving any kind of disability. And it broke me. It broke me down, and I just felt terrible about that situation. So I sat on the bed, and my wife just was like, somebody's got to do something about this, right? And I was looking at her like, yeah, you saying that somebody's me, right? and that's when I did it. I said, I'm going to leave a comfortable situation, and I put a prayer in the air, and I said, you know what? I got to do this. I got to do this for all my brothers going forward. And everybody pick at me all the time because I use brothers, but that's how I felt. And I took a leap of faith, and that's where Legacy was born. Now, 6 years later, we have over 5,000 guys.
5,000.
Yeah, that we've assisted.
And this is all your effort of giving back to help others.
Yes, I mean, it was all about getting these guys what I felt like they truly deserve.
So it makes sense for me on the Legacy Pro Sports. So it's in part connected to where you've come from, the journey you took. But you also just launched a new program for veterans, right? So tell me a little bit about that.
How I got involved with this is I had one guy that was really struggling with his mental health, right? And I was trying to get him disabilities. And he didn't want to go to a rehab facility per se, right? He was like, look, you ain't sticking me in no cage with all these strangers. So I was like, I have to find a place that he's going to be able to get his healing and be able to come back, you know, mentally. And I found a place in California called Pure Recovery Rehab, which now I own, but I was just looking for a sports rehabilitation place. Well, he went out there to this place, spent a month, and left and went back home. Well, we're working on his disability case, and this guy was one of the wildest guys I've ever come across, right? I played with him, so I knew, you know, the things that he did and the way that he abused substance and all of that stuff, right? So he went back home, and 2 months later, I called him because I'm working on his case, and I said, man, you sound different. He said, well, I should sound different. I'm like, why? He's like, because I haven't had a drink or a drug since you sent me out there to that place. I said, wait a minute, hey, you haven't had a drink or a drug in 2 months? Mind you, he missed 4 planes to get out there because of his habits, right? So immediately, once that happened, I called up my business partner, Ryan Sherry. I said, book your ticket. We're going to see where this place is because God must be there, right? So we get on a plane. We go out there and meet with the woman that owns this place. She was doing great work, but she just couldn't keep the place alive because she didn't know enough athletes. Well, at that period of time, I got 2,000 athletes all begging for this kind of treatment in a place that they can go and be around their peers, right? Because one of the things about rehab is most people that it's time for you to go to rehab and work on yourself, you're forced most of the time to go there, right? You've done everything to the people around you and they just want to get you help, or you're fed up with yourself, right? But it's not just that. Normal people that are living with the struggle of mental health, they can get better, right? They can go to a place, concentrate, lock in, and make it and propel their life in a different direction. And, you know, we went out there, built a partnership with her, and she moved on, and, you know, she wanted to, you know, she was getting older, and she was like, look, I'm going to be done with this. I'm like, you can't be done with this. So me and my partner, we put a plan together, we bought it, and that's how that came into play. So we have a whole program for athletes. Well, how you combine this with the vet thing. So I went with Urban Meyer, and we went down to train with the Navy SEALs. We went down to train with them, and then I saw their experience, and we had a fireside chat afterwards. And this fireside chat started touching me in a way that it did when I started Legacy, because these veterans were going through the same exact thing that us athletes were going, even more so, right? They had the problems with mental health. They had problems getting their disability. They had a problem admitting and wanting to go to help when they didn't have the people that they were in it, their brothers with them, brothers and sisters with them. So immediately after that, I said, oh gosh, I didn't want to open another business. I didn't want to start another business. And I said, I'm the person that can make a difference here again. So doing the same thing, getting disabilities for veterans, and then also out at Pier, we put together a mental health program for veterans as well. And we should be getting inside of the network with TRICARE so that we can serve vets, even if they're active duty, they can come over. Because a lot of those vets, we have a base out there, and they've sent vets to us to get this TMS and this neurological work that we do, that basically you can go inside of the brain and start basically like training. Like if you get a muscle, you get a bruise on a muscle, right? You know that you got to ice and stem it and take care of it. Well, same thing if something happens in your brain, there's a way to do that icing and stemming and making it communicate better. And we've done that with vets in the past. And the reason that we got inside, or we're getting inside of this network, is because they are the ones that asked us, like, could y'all get in the network so that, you know, the insurance that they have and the way that they can go get seen, they can do this stuff inside of there. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And that's kind of how it all progressed.
That's awesome. And it's in its infancy. You're just now starting this up.
Mm-hmm. Just now starting. And we haven't promoted it much or anything like that because we have 5,000 athletes, right? And we know that we can manage those 5,000 athletes. What we didn't want to do was jump out there and say, okay, let's just take all of the veterans that we can right from the jump. We wanted to structure it, make sure everything was right, and make sure that we can service those veterans in the way that they're supposed to. Because a lot of the reason that you get frustrated about getting your disabilities and doing things is that people don't give you enough attention. They don't make you understand exactly what it takes to get those disabilities, right? There's rules, there's regulations, there's processes that you have to go through. And if you miss some of those steps, you get overlooked or you don't get what you're supposed to get. Well, if I go out there and I say, okay, well, I'm gonna represent 5,000 tomorrow of veterans, now it might be an overload and you start skipping steps. So we spent time preparing that and we're finally ready.
What I think is really awesome too is that both of you share a lot in common when it comes to how you're trying to help the community, whether it's you helping NFL players, MLB players, veterans now. You both do it in the same way when it comes to you helping the community. You have people in need who come to you. You give them services that they might even know they need. And that's how you help them out in the end.
Yes, yeah.
It's terrific.
So switching gears a little bit, you wrote a book. Definition of a leader, and I know for my organization, leadership is one of our core values. What do you want to share with our audience as to your thoughts on leadership and maybe how that relates back to this kind of helping and make a difference?
Well, I think with leadership, I had a lot of people that was asking me, with the whole Tim Tebow situation, and everybody looks at Tim like the ultimate leader. Well, if Tim can look to me for leadership, then how crazy of a leader is that, right? And there are a lot of different leadership styles out there, but what I wanted to do in my book was show people that it didn't all look cliche, right? It's not all like you think it is. You can pull anything out of any situation, whether it be good or bad, any way of growing up, whether it be good or bad. You can pull anything out of that situation and you can reverse that and make that into an experience that teaches you how to be better in your leadership roles that you have. So that's pretty much what I did. In my book, I gave different examples in different circumstances. I wanted to be able to talk to somebody in plain English and let them know, like, well, this is what happened, this is how I spun that, and this is what I got from that. And ultimately, that's how it contributed to me being the ultimate leader that you see today.
Cool.
So you're already helping, former athletes and current day athletes. You're helping veterans. What do you think brought this about you? I know you come from humble beginnings. Does it have to do with your mom, who was a really strong mother, single mom in Pine Hills? What do you think brought this out of you?
I think, and I hate to say this, but everybody pulls on something differently, right? For me, I hated seeing my people struggle the way that they struggled. I hated that they didn't even have the ambition to want more. I hated that they didn't think that they deserved more, right? So I hated that my daddy wasn't at every basketball and football game, right? And you can do two things with that, right? You can do something with hate just as much as you could do with love, right? If you use it in the right way. Right? I hated those things. And because I hated those things so much, I made sure that now I don't miss not one game when my boys are playing, right? I don't miss one opportunity to teach somebody that there's more out there and you can achieve it if you continue to strive and you do the things that you need to do to work for it. So if you can take something like hate and make it and spread so much love with it, you know, I think that is my strategy, right? That's what I did. I took all of the embodiment of the things that I didn't have and the way that people thought when I was young, and I reversed it and said, I'm gonna do it the opposite way. So when I was growing up, everybody was, you know, I would ask them all the time, what kind of grades you made? C's and D's. All right, I'm making straight A's, right? And I graduated with a 4.2. The first time that I made a B in middle school, I came home and cried like a baby, and my mama thought I had lost my mind. She's like, a B? You crying over a B? I'm like, I gotta be perfect. I wanna get out of here. I gotta be successful. But that's how I always was about achieving something different than what I had saw in the past.
So Brandon, a lot of what you're telling us is great, and I think your organizations and my organization shares a lot. We help people navigate a really complex system. Tell me about that. Why did you choose to do that?
Well, you know, basically the way that the system's always been is it's been attorneys that kind of guide these guys through this. But the crazy thing about our experience with our attorneys that we've had is that they don't give you the service that you need. So we're not attorneys, we're consultants, right? We're gonna explain to you how the system works. We're gonna help you put together a package so that it gets you what you need in the end, right? We're consulting you on how to do those things. So that's a lot different from the role that an attorney would play. A lot of the things are similar, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to get our guys to get what they deserve at the end of the day.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your story, Jeff and I. Listen, we knew you were going to be a great interviewee, and you far surpassed our expectations.
Yeah, as a disabled vet myself, you know, I thank you for what you're doing for veterans.
Well, thank you for your service, man, and thank y'all for having me.
Thank you very much. Well, we want to say a special thank you to our guest, Brandon Seiler, who came on our show and really broke down a lot of what he does. And what I recognize is that a lot of the things he does, you guys do as well.
He does. And I think it's important to have people like Brandon who are helping the community. You know, he said it himself, we're not lawyers, we're advocates. We're helping people navigate the system. And navigating the system is a challenge. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I can tell you that there's a lot of stuff that we do where it's really focused on just helping people understand how the system works. And if we had more people like Brandon out there in the community helping navigate the system, then we could focus a little bit more on the law side and a little bit less on that. So you know, we're appreciative of having a resource like that.
And being a veteran yourself, you know, the commonalities there between what he's doing, what you're doing, and helping veterans out there is exactly what this show is all about.
Yeah.
And if you or someone you know is in need of legal assistance, of course, reach out to Jeff and his friends over at CLS, or to simply learn more about today's topic and to watch other episodes of Law Talk, visit our website, wftv.com/legal.
Till next time, thank you for watching WFTV's Law Talk.
WFTV's Law Talk is sponsored by Community Legal Services.
Community Legal Services is a nonprofit law firm that provides legal assistance and representation to low-income and vulnerable people in Central Florida. One case I can recall was a low-income woman. She was elderly, she was disabled, and she had been living in a home for 13 years that she did not own. The home had been abandoned by the previous owner. And so this woman had been doing all the things that she needed to do under the law in order to take legal ownership of the property. She was fixing it up. She had been paying the taxes. She had been doing all the things to kind of defend her potential ability to own this home. And while the law requires it to go on for 7 years, she did it for 13 years through 2 different changes in the statute. When I got involved, I first talked to the property appraiser, and they confirmed that she had met all the legal requirements. Then I convinced the building department to go ahead and issue a permit under the circumstances because she would soon have title to the home. And then we initiated a case effectively to get the state to recognize her ownership of the home based on meeting all the requirements. A lot of nonprofits, are focused on meeting basic needs. They're giving people fish. And then there are nonprofits that really focus on how do we expand people's resources, how do we teach them effectively how to fish, to use the analogy. What I think Community Legal Services does is it really helps them secure their place in the pond and access to a fishing pole. We want people to know their rights, we want people to understand those pieces, but ultimately speaking, we also want to make sure that they have access to the pond, that they have the ability to use a fishing pole and they're not being taken advantage of in that effort. And that's why we believe in this idea that everybody should have access to legal aid. I mean, one of our taglines is legal aid for all. But it's incumbent upon the entire community, businesses and donors, volunteers, to ensure that all of these life's challenges can get handled through pro bono. Really, when you get down to the theoretical concepts of it, in the military, you're there to defend the American way of life and freedom, and that includes the system of government. When you look at it from a courtroom perspective, the judicial system is one of our 3 branches of government. And so in order for that to work, you have to have the intermediaries that link the people to the judicial system, which are the lawyers. And if not every citizen or not every resident in a particular area has the ability to reach out to those lawyers and get advice and get representation and really get their case right, then that's an entire part of the population that don't have access to one of the branches of government. So while we do have about 60 lawyers on staff that take cases, the real heroes in this are the volunteers. In the profession of law, there's a duty to serve the public. That's part of what makes it a profession. And this organization reaches out to lawyers all across the service area and helps them meet that duty by providing them opportunities to take cases. This last year, Tim Moran, who's one of our volunteer attorneys, he won the Tobias Simon Award, which is the highest award that the state of Florida can give to a volunteer attorney for their work. Tim Moran lives, breathes the duty of professionalism and service to the community that is incumbent in being a member of the Florida Bar. And I can't think of any better example of what every attorney should strive to be. That's absolutely the right thing to do. It's inherent in the profession. It is something that when lawyers took the oath that they committed to, not just as an obligation, but as a way of life. We cover basically any of those basic human needs you're looking for. If you're interested in helping the homeless, we do that. If you're interested in helping the hungry, we do that. If you're interested in people that don't have health care, we help with that. If you're interested in taking care of kids, we do that. If you're interested in people that have issues related to domestic violence, we do that. Veterans, we do that. Anything that you can think of pretty much that is a charitable cause, legal services in some way, shape, or form impacts that cause.
We hope you've enjoyed this month's episode of Let's Talk Law, your go-to guide to the civil legal world. Until next time, I'm Michelle Wargo.